got it! The starter! Mike Tyson in! Austin is the champion! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold!
Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
Touch the ball, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Achieved his dream and the dream of everyone else who's been told you can't do it. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get it up. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
If you're only listening to this podcast, you're missing out on some wonderful dancing from Marcus and myself. This is a simulcast video/audio presentation of WWE WAR here on the North-South Connection Podcast Network, Wrestling Above Replacements. And we are here getting down to Test's theme, Jeff Jarrett's theme, and every WWE pay-per-view in history. Because we're watching them all, Marcus. How you doing?
I'm good. All 5 hours of shows this season, man. But I'm doing good.
The exact time spent in the season. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A lot of shows that are very long, very annoying. But we're almost done. We got 2 more to go tonight, and then 1 big dog left to take down next episode.
Are we doing a Guinness Books of World Records thing? I feel like at the end of this project, we're going to be eligible for something.
Yeah, we may be. Although I think Aaron might have beat us there since he also did it.
Well, do we have another year or no?
Yeah, we'll see. We get through. We didn't. All right. So, all that said, what we do on this podcast is going through every WWE pay-per-view in history. We do it a seasonal format. So we start with the pay-per-view following Mania in a given season, which would be, and this season was Greatest Royal Rumble. We finished with WrestleMania the following calendar year, WrestleMania 35. So we'll see. We're almost done, of course, with that. We do this by watching every single pay-per-view, every single match. We grade every match. And then we also break down a whole bunch of other things on these shows based on different categories that Marcus will tell us about in 1 second. What we do is that we look for everything that's average match, average moment, a normal crowd pop. And anything that we think is above average, we give a +1. Anything below average, we give a -1. We can go up to 3 on both sides. 3 is kind of capped at like awesome, great all time. And then we net that all out, and that gives us a final WAR score. And then we rank every pay-per-view ever by that score. Marcus, what are the categories that we take a look at when we're doing this?
Yeah, we start off with build, commentary, atmosphere, notable moments and importance, our match grades, card structure, rewatchability, and all-time matches. And for a match to be an all-timer in the plus category, it is something we both agree is 4.25 and above. And for it to be a minus, it is something we both agree is 0.75 and below.
Yes, sir. All right. So we cover 2 pay-per-views per episode. So tonight we're going to start things off with Elimination Chamber 2019 on February 17th from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. We have our announced team is Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Renee Young on Raw. Then we have Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Corey Graves on SmackDown. Vic Joseph, Nigel McGuinness, and Aiden English on 205 Live. And Beth Phoenix also joins us for a match in there as well. We had 1 pre-show match as our usual stalwart in the undercard on the pre-show is Buddy Murphy retaining his Cruiserweight title against Akira Tozawa. And then we get right into the show, Marcus, with a Elimination Chamber match. It is for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, the inaugural women's tag team titles. So we decided to create these belts and we put them up for grabs in a chamber, which I liked instead of the standard tournament. Like, it was something different. We took our best teams, throw them in the match. Those teams are the Boston Hug Connection, Bayley and Sasha Banks, Carmella and Naomi, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, Nia Jax and Tamina, the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, and the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. And the winners were the Boston Hug. Of course, Bayley and Sasha are our first women's tag team champions. 33 minutes was this match. I like that was a very strong opener. I went 3.5 stars. Pretty much, what you would expect between them. Nothing crazy, but Bayley and Sasha really drove the match, as you would hope, and ended up being our first ever women's tag team champions.
Yeah, and on the other end of that battery was Mandy and Sonya, and I thought they did great as well, kind of bookending the match. So I went 3.25, so just a tick below, but still really good stuff.
This low-key kind of starts Mandy's, this
Mhm.
team with Sonya, this gimmick is coming along. Like, you can see her starting to put it together here before she goes to NXT and really kicks things up.
Yeah,
And then becomes a multimillionaire on OnlyFans.
no bumps. Next up,
Really
we
ingenious.
have for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, it is the Usos regaining the titles from the best tag team in the world. It is The Miz and Kendra Roy, Shane McMahon. I went to 2.5.
I am
level.
Done with this. I was glad the Usos won the belts. I was ready for this to be done. I'm like, oh, good. This ended a little bit quicker than I thought it was gonna. This angle, so we're done already, right? So I went 2 3/4. Again, it's Usos. I was just happy again that they ended the reign of the Royals, so we're good. All right, IC title on the line is Finn Balor defeats Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush in a handicap match to retain his title. To win the title. Bobby was champ coming in, so Finn has done quite a run. Finn Balor is. We've seen this be a little bit of a trope as well during this era, this season. Like, guy gets a little world title push, loses, ends that title push, and then gets right into the mid-card picture, like Nakamura did it with the U.S. title. Now Balor's doing with the IC title, had his little run. But he's been rehabbed nicely in the back end of the season overall. So that said, the match was kind of disappointing. 2.5 stars for me.
2.5, but I thought on the flip side of that, I thought it was kind of reached its ceiling.
Yeah,
for a handicap match at the same time. So either way, it's replacement level. Next up, we have for the Raw Women's Championship, it is Ronda Rousey defeating Ruby Riott. Not much meat on the bone on this one. I went with a 1.5.
All right. I also had I had that at a 1. Yeah, it was essentially a squash. I mean, a minute 40. It sucks for Ruby, but I think they really were in such a holding pattern with Ronda just to get to Mania here, just to have her burn through. All the other women are in the chamber, so there's not many left options for this. So I guess you could have given her the show off if you were just going to do this, but it's fine, whatever. You could have just done a promo or something.
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
All right, well, or you can take some of this next match this time, which is Baron Corbin defeating Braun Strowman in a no DQ match. It goes 11 minutes, 1.5 for me. I'm so done with this fucking Corbin Constable bullshit. Strowman is in the mud. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, 1.75 for me because I am a Corbin apologist, but we're moving backwards. We've already been here, we've done this, and now we're just moving backwards. So yeah, not interested in this. But that very quickly brings us to our main event, JT, and that is for the WWE Championship or the Planet Championship, as it is Daniel Bryan defending the hemp belt against Kofi Kingston, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe. I went with a 4.5 for this match. This match rocked, and it got plenty of time. 36:40, the official match time. This one was absolutely fantastic, and I'd recommend anybody to go ahead and check it out again because this was super dope.
It's an awesome match. It's an all-time chamber for me. I thought it was great. 4.5 as well. Bryan is champion, driving the match is fantastic. I love that Samoa Joe still in the title picture. We weren't crazy about the AJ Styles feud, but he's a guy that belongs at that level consistently. Good to see Orton and Hardy in there after their great feud. So I just like this mix of talent they got on SmackDown. really strong, and starting to see hints about maybe an elevation for Mr. Kingston. So we'll talk about that as we go forward throughout the night. 4.5. So overall, that nets out to a 1.25 though for match grades, which is very, very low. So even with that classic all-timer, just not a great in-ring night overall, top to bottom. The squash didn't help, baked in there, but the card really capped up. All right, let's get to our categories. For build, we give a point for the creation of the women's tag titles, gave them hype and importance along with the chamber match. A point for Lashley winning the IC title during the build. Also a point for Leo talking Lashley into defending that title at this show. A point for Corbin trolling Strowman for months, took away his Rumble title match. We mentioned that last episode. A point for the hyperdrive Kofi push into a star roll. Goes an hour in the gauntlet to earn this shot. So that's starting to build some momentum that they were thinking about maybe Kofi in a new role. A point for Orton winning the gauntlet for the last slot by going winning that gauntlet as mentioned about to get the last slot in the chamber. And then a point for Bryan debuting the hemp title officially here. I think I mentioned in the last episode that he had the brown title there. I forgot it was at this point. He debuted it. He didn't have it the whole time. So
yeah. For our minuses, we have your favorite storyline of all time, Miz and Shane, the best in the world nonsense, still going on. We're not out of the woods yet. Vince suspending Becky and putting Charlotte in the WrestleMania match. It really played off of all of like the PTSD that they've delivered to the fan base with like
they're redoing the Bryan stuff.
Mind.
Yeah, they're redoing the Bryan stuff. He's just so past due, Vince, at this point. It's like we don't want he doesn't need to be on screen getting beaten up and changing matches. And like, I guess it kind of works. We'll see in our next, later tonight with Kofi a bit, but I don't know. It's just like becomes too much. It's just,
it's almost like trolling the audience of like, that thing that like you really want to happen.
Right.
Like, we could just not do it. We're going to not do it.
As much as the pandemic was terrible, brutal wrestling time. The one thing it does is really does hard rinse WWE through some real bad habits. You know what I mean? And this having Vince as a constant on-screen presence here in 19 with these bloated pay-per-views and everything else, like there was some stuff that needed to change during this time period, and I guess that ends up being the catalyst. So.
We have one more at minus, and that is no mention of the build for Ruby and Ronda. We are all focused towards WrestleMania, looking ahead for Ron Rousey.
Yep. All right, so that's a +4 for build. So a fine build show, really around the SmackDown Men's Chamber, the bulk of it. All right, for commentary, a point for Beth being the women's announcer for the Women's Tag Chamber was great. A point, again, for Beth, calling back to last year's Women's Chamber, how it was the 4 same women at the end. A point for the nice job telling Kofi's story throughout the match. A nice job calling the men's chamber as a whole. The surprise eliminations were treated and sold as such, added strategy and depth to the match. This talks about the exhaustion from the gauntlet kicking in. So I thought they did a real strong job on the SmackDown side carrying that main event.
Yeah, SmackDown commentary really has been awesome all season. They've been a highlight, and I don't know if it's shown through because of all the minuses we've had this season. Like Awkward Renee with her sound bites, return of soundbite Byron a bit, but now it's Renee. She's saying Graves all the time. Cole with the yelling and over explaining of like the handicap match. Oh, he can pin Rush at any time and win the title.
Right.
Announcers are so aggravating about Becky hobbling to the ring. She isn't supposed to be here. She can't just walk through here. She have a ticket. How she get in? And then another note here, and it was just like so, it just stuck out. It was, of course, we get the announcement that Miz and Maurice are expecting, and in only WWE verbiage, they keep referring to the baby as unborn child, and it just sticks out all night.
Wait till they go to the medical facility for the unborn child.
It's so weird.
God.
It's so weird.
That's another thing that I feel like Triple H, honestly, this era doesn't get enough credit for with Vince. The Vince purge is like the return of normalcy and talking and like words. like that's helped a lot.
Like Miz gets upset and he has to say, "My unborn child."
All right, so net out 0 for commentary. So that's a plus usually for this era.
Yeah.
Atmosphere, a big pop for Sasha and Bailey coming out, and then a big pop for their win and post-match celebration. A point for the red hot crowd for Becky. A point for Kofi, chance, and being just super over already at the beginning of this push. A point for the great AJ Styles entrance to the main event. A point for the crowd being all in on that SmackDown chamber, popping for all the right spots. A point for Kofi getting a standing ovation after the match, and a point for the chamber being presented as a danger and not just like a giant toy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For our minuses, we've got the crowd not caring about Maurice's announcement of her unborn child. We got silence for Corbin, as per usual. We got the crowd is super quiet and pissed off when Kofi loses, not knowing that this wasn't the end of the story for him.
Yeah.
We got Bailey and Sasha really having to work for their prolonged post-match ovation. Like they have those pregnant pauses, really trying to guide the crowd to react. And a little bit of booze starting to creep in before they get drowned out by cheers during that post-match promo. So what does that net out for us?
Yeah, +4 for commentary. I mean, for atmosphere. That the Kofi Bryan was a nice callback too to like another one we covered in a very early season here on War, the 2012 Elimination Chamber with Santino and Daniel Bryan. Bryan was the heel champion at that one too, and he gives Santino this awesome finishing stretch out of nowhere where you think he may win. But this is the opposite, right? But it felt similar to the point you just made, where it's like, all right, that was like a cool moment for Santino. He had his chance. We got into it and he lost. And it kind of feels like, is that going to be it for Kofi too? Like, is he just going to kind of have his moment and move on, right? So I kind of like that, we go a different path with it. So, all right, noble moments. First ever women's tag chamber, point for that. Point for Sasha and Bailey being the first women's tag champions. A point for Miz and Maurice announcing their unborn child. Big of an announcement for the two of them. Kind of the first couple of WWE. A point for the Usos winning the SmackDown tag titles to join the historic ranks. A point for Balor winning the IC title. A point for Lashley turning on Rush and ending their partnership. A point for the official tease for WrestleMania 3-way with the women's title with the stare down and Becky attacking Charlotte and Ronda with the crutch. We didn't talk about that during the matches, but it was a great moment. She really beat the shit out of both of them. So that was cool, and that really hyperdrives the Mania push. And then a point for New Day coming out to congratulate Kofi and the standing ovation for him.
That was awesome. For our minors, we got poor Ruby being squashed. Ron looks great, but it's a tough spot to put somebody in. We got Lashley and McIntyre being presented as the Stooge heavies for Corbin. Once again, we're going backwards with the booking here for both Lashley and McIntyre.
So +6 though for moments. So notable show. 1.25 for in-ring. Here's card structure. We started big with the chamber match. A point for having a tight card. Limited that bloat of 2018. 6 matches, awesome. A point for the loaded main event chamber, dream match type stuff. A point for making Bryan go end to end, was perfect for the story and the match quality. A point for Kofi getting to the finals and losing in a close war. So pretty good card structure on the positive side.
All right. For our minuses, we got the SmackDown Tag Team title match taking way too long for what it needed to be. We got the ice cold promo before the Intercontinental title match with Lio Rush and my man Bobby Lashley.
Dead.
Oh, so bad. Charlotte promo was really like raw fodder, not for the pay-per-view, kind of trying her best to bloat things out there. Long heel Corbin stable beatdown right after the Becky assault. It's like a really long time without like actual wrestling on the pay-per-view. And then killing the crowd before that segment kills the crowd before the main event.
Yeah, again, we don't need another Corbin bullshit. So +1 for card structure. Rewatchability, we give a point for Sasha and Bailey's post-match interview, which is a cool moment. A point for Becky destroying Charlotte and Ronda with the crutches. Again, just a classic moment. It was really fun to watch. A point for Hardy hitting a swanton off the pod to AJ's back while he was laying on the top rope was nasty. And then a point for Orton's RKO on Styles, countering the phenomenal forearm.
For our minuses, poor Iconics, hate to do it to them, but the constant chirping all match just didn't really fit in.
Come on!
Oi, mate. Shane gassing through his offense against the GOAT team of the Usos.
Oh, my God. Again, with the awful punches and the submission and the beat red face. Like, just, oh, my God.
He's got the triangle in. The triangle. Oh man. Oh, Shane and Miz Pathos nonsense. Still going after a 2-month run. Looking for innovation. That never really comes either.
Constantly, they're looking around. It was one of those like after the match, looking around and no one gives a shit. Like, go away. The pregnancy pop was bigger, bigger than anything to do with
For
Shane.
the unborn child.
Maurice's unborn child was much more entertaining than Shane. All right, all-time matches. We had one. It's at Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives us a total war score of 18.25, which, solid-ish, I guess, right? Not bad, actually. That slots it in at 44th all-time. So, we have
Upper half?
105 shows, so top half. It's just above Brooklyn 4 TakeOver, which I don't know if you would have guessed that. Just below SummerSlam 18, below Survivor Series 11, above Super Showdown 18, and the first TakeOver. So, yeah, pretty good show. I think limiting the bullshit helped for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there you go.
Nice brisk 3.5-hour sprint compared to what we've been having.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our final show of the night, and that is Fastlane 2019, March 10th, from the Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. Michael Cole, Renee Young, Corey Graves for Ross. SmackDown side of Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Corey Graves. And then Beth, as usual, pops in for the women's tag match. We had one pre-show match. That was the New Day defeating Nakamura and Rusev at 13:20 to retain. I'm sorry, no, that is non-title, just a match.
Oh, just a match. Okay.
And then we get to our SmackDown tag title match to open the show. Open the show with the Usos. Yet again, facing Shane, Kendall, Roy McMahon, and The Miz.
Sweaty.
The Usos do retain another 14 minutes. It's like they go, we need 14, no matter what. We need 14. Every match of theirs is 14 minutes.
Oh, man.
But this finally at least turns the tide on this whole thing as the partnership dissolves. So we're not quite done yet. But we do get the end of the team as Shane McMahon surprisingly turns heel on Miz. I think they alley-ooped and okey-doked this. You'd figure Miz would be the one to turn on Shane, but Shane ends up turning on Miz. So
yeah, the best in the world moniker getting Shane's head a little bit. I went 2.75 on this match. And you went 2.5, right?
2.5, yeah, and that's I'd say that's generous. All Usos.
All right. Well, our next match on Fastlane, it is Asuka successfully defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Mandy Rose. Looking to capitalize off of the momentum from Elimination Chamber. I went 2.5 with this match, so it's definitely been worse, but I think the ceiling is a little bit higher for the women this season from what we've seen.
2.25 from me. Yeah, it was fine. I mean, again, Mandy's getting her way into the mix now. She's kind of been forgotten through most of 18, but trying to figure her way out into this picture. So pretty good little match for Asuka to build momentum for Mania. All right, we have a handicap match next. This is really part of a larger story as the Bar defeat Kofi Kingston. 2 stars for me. This is Vince toying with Kofi. All through the build to the show is that he was going to get the title shot at Bryan. Vince pulls him out, says, "Oh, you'll get a moment. You'll get a chance." Earlier in the show, he calls New Day Kofi to his office. He's going to give him a big match. They send him out to the ring, and they think that he's going to fight Daniel Bryan, and it ends up the Bar comes out and beats the shit out of him. So they're really building the momentum in the story here that Kofi's being held down by Vince, but the crowd wants him. So the match itself was fine. It's no Strike Force Brainbusters.
Yeah, we both went 2 on it. As a positive, it did feel like a storyline or something from like WWF No Mercy on the N64 or something with like the swervy there. So like that. Next up, we have a triple threat tag match for the Raw Tag Team titles as the Revival defends against Chad Gable and Bobby Roode and Ricochet and Al Black, one of my favorites from NXT. I went 3.25. These guys really brought the goods, kind of nonstop action, delivered the formula, like they handled it perfectly. So yeah, 3.25. Thought this was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it too. 3.25 for me. I mean, I wish they had more time. 10 minutes. Like I like all these teams that can all go. I mean, you have Revival and Black and Ricochet like on your tag roster. It's mind blowing that my sense of time is so warped during this era. Like this is not an era that's like intuitive to me, and I have no like scope of where guys were when. So like it's crazy to me to think like Revival were tag champs on Raw in 2019. Like it doesn't feel that recent, even though it's 4.5 years ago now. Like it still seems. I think because again, not to keep bringing up the pandemic, but I think it shrunk that stretch of time in our minds. But it's like it's crazy that those guys were on prominent pay-per-views as champions, winning
Yeah,
matches.
it was weird to me that they were here. I was like, oh my gosh, like what are these guys doing here?
Weird. All right, so 3.25 there. We have a U.S. title 4-way next. Samoa Joe is our new U.S. champion. Defeats Andrade, R-Truth, and Rey Mysterio. Another great match on paper. 3.5 stars for me. It delivered. And I like this. Feels like a little bit refreshing. And we see this a lot of seasons as you get toward Mania, even though it intuitively feels like it should be kind of the end of that season. It feels like a lot of times as we head to Mania, they mix things up. They really feel like they're trying to freshen up the roster a bit in early 19 with bringing up a bunch of these faces.
Yeah, and a curious time too to do it like right before WrestleMania. I feel like usually they wait, but they're not wasting any time. So I went 3.75. I absolutely love this match. I love the mix of talent. I love Truth being in here. Awesome stuff. And Joe, it's cool to see him get the U.S. title because he's been really awesome all season. We have a women's tag team title match as Sasha Banks and Bayley, the Boston Hug connection, as far as I'm concerned, defeat Tamina and Nia Jax. I went with the 3. Match might have outkicked its coverage just a little bit.
Yeah, 3.25. I mean, Tamina, like whatever, no offense, but at the bottom of the barrel probably for workers in the women's division. So her and Nia is not the team that light you on fire too much, but Bayley and Sasha know the gig. They know how to work these sets of matches and structure them. So it's perfect use of these teams. All right, we have a dirty title match next as Kevin Owens is back on the scene, challenging Daniel Bryan. That was the build coming in, right? He takes Kofi's title shot pretty much. She's a face, but Vince, he's like, I'm not going to turn down the shot. Vince puts him in the match. And then Vince pulls another troll job and says, oh, we're going to add someone to this match, right? So you think it's going to be Kofi. And he brings out Mustafa Ali instead. Again, it's cool to see him in the world title match, but people just were not happy. Poor guy. His big world title match on pay-per-view, and he's put in an unwinnable position. The match, though, I thought was really, really good. I went 3.75. I did not remember this match at all, and I really, really dug it.
Yeah, and this is kind of like a make good getting Ali back in there because he was supposed to be in the chamber, but he gets knocked out. I believe he has a concussion like a week or two before, and that's how we get started with Kofi Mania. So I went with a what did I go with? 3.25 on this triple threat match. Next up, we have Becky Lynch taking on Charlotte Flair. A little bit of a preview of what's to come next month. I went with a 3 for this match. Of course, they're working the whole match around Becky's injury as well. So a little bit of a different match than they'd normally deliver.
Yeah, I went 3 as well. And to your point, it's almost not fair in a way because it was, it's kind of got that Shawn Triple H Bad Blood or Taboo Tuesday 04 vibe. Where it's like, the whole story's worked about a legit injury. So they really structure it a certain way that doesn't allow it to level up, but they still do a really good job with it. So 3 stars. And then on our main event, we have the Shield reuniting for their final appearance. And that is Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns taking on Constable Corbin and his crew of Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. 3.25 for me. We'll talk about this quite a bit in our comments. So.
Yep, 3.25 for me as well.
Wow. All right, so that nets out to a pretty solid 4.75 in ring. Let's get to our categories, Marcus. For build, we gave there's a lot going on. This is a well-built show for a throwaway before Mania. We gave a point for Roman Reigns coming back. He's in remission. The Shield reunites, selling the pay-per-view. It's Ambrose's last appearance, so a point for that. A point for Mandy Rose defeating Asuka in a non-title match to get that title shot. A point for Vince messing with Kofi. The New Day advocates for him, deserving a chance. A point for Black and Ricochet coming up from NXT as a team. They did really well in the Dusty Rose Classic, so they keep them as a unit, set them up as contenders. A point for Samoa Joe winning the U.S. title. A point for the great series between Andrade and Ray every week on SmackDown to set them up for that U.S. title match. A point for Owens coming back from injury, steps up to Bryan, trashing the WWE title. And then gets inserted in Kofi's spot by Vince. And then a point for Becky doing the great job selling the knee to add further question and sympathy. So again, a very well-built show. A lot's going on for it.
Yeah, lots of focus heading into WrestleMania. For our minuses, we got the Ambrose heel turn abruptly dropped. Miz and Shane, your favorite storyline, still going on as part of the tag team title mix. Convoluted path to a three-way with suspension and McMahon's being involved and random matches being set up. There had to be an easier way to get to it. And then Ambrose's business being aired out. While they don't bury him on the way out, they do air out the contract business. And, it's a little weird.
All right. So +4, but yeah, it was very weird that they did that. It's very unique. I mean, they basically used it as a story, right? Will he sign? Is he not going to sign? It looks like he's done. In a way, it was respectful because, again, they don't bury him. They give him moments. They make everything about him and celebrate him, which is cool. But it's also weird that they get into the details piece of it. So, all right, commentary, a point for, and that's a 4 overall for Build. Commentary, Graves tells Byron he's not allowed within 50 yards of Mandy, so a point for that. A point for Beth as being the women's match specialist. We talked about that previously. Continues to add value in the booth. And a point for being up front. You know, we talked about it's kind of weird, but they were up front about Ambrose leaving, his contract situation. It felt like a real sports situation. Like, hey, this guy's about to be a free agent. This is the last event. Like, what are we going to do? So at least it made it feel a little bit more realistic.
Yeah. Either we've gone like blind to it or deaf to it, but the only minus we have is somebody in commentary says, "Oh, Shane looks sharp after 2 sloppy hard tracks to start the match."
Brutal.
But that was our only minus. It feels like there's just a lot of focus heading into this show and
in Mania
to WrestleMania.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. They're telling the story. Like it wasn't as bad on this one.
Yeah,
and,
so there's
or maybe
not
we're
a
just
lot of room.
enveloped into everything else, you know?
Yeah, but it seems like there's just not as much. Everything just has focused. Everything has a story that's going on. So the job is like pretty simple and laid out in front of them. And I felt like they didn't botch it on the show.
No, they did fine. And it's going to help. We'll see. Atmosphere, we gave a point for the big hometown pop for the Miz in Cleveland. A point for the crowd being pissed at Shane. That was actually a pretty good heel turn. A point for Mandy's sultry entrance. A point for the crowd being pumped and loud for Kofi. A point for the crowd being into Ricochet and Black's entrance. A point for the big hot entrance for Boston Hug. A point for the big pop when Orton hits the RKO on Elias. And then AJ attacks Orton during the Elias segment to set up their potential Mania match. A point for the final ever Shield entrance. And then a point for the crowd buzzing during the Shield finale and the end of the match. They kind of knew this is the end of an era.
R.I.P. For our minuses, we got the crowd chanting, "This is boring" during the Bar Kofi match. Silence for poor Ali as he gets added to the title match. The WWE title match takes a bit of a hit due to the constant Kofi chants and him being dangled earlier but not being delivered on this night.
Right, so +6 for that. So pretty strong.
All right.
All right, moments. Mandy Rose, first ever singles title match. We give her a point for that. A point for Kofi Mania, building up. A point for Black and Ricochet, making their main roster pay-per-view debut. 3 points for the last ever Shield match, to date anyway. A point for the first ever women's tag title defense. A point for Nia and Tamina laying out Beth to really hype them up as heels. And then we gave another 3 for being Ambrose's last pay-per-view. So you get 6 points right there after moments off the Shield, but I think they're all worthwhile. I mean, the Shield is like the biggest group, the future of the company to the president of the company through that whole decade. Started in the end of 2012 all the way to 2019. They are the drivers of so much in the company through that time. And Ambrose is a major star leaving. So I think it's a notable occurrence on this pay-per-view. This is one of the reasons you watch this. One of the reasons they had it is to see the final Shield. You may not care about this era or the Shield. Well, for people who do, it's a big show.
Yeah, and they really represent like a changing of the guard in WWE as far as I'm concerned, just like the match style and the athleticism and the match structure in general, and then trios matches being a thing in WWE for a long time after the Shield came up. So they represent, I think, a lot of positive change on the roster. Now, for our minuses for notable moments and importance, we've got George Miz giving Miz tips, and then Shane turning heel on him. A little bit weird there. And then Becky needing Ronda to get her to WrestleMania. I feel like all that old George was missing was like the tiger jacket and like the the hand roughs like Stu Hart gives it Survivor Series '93, working the shoulder back into the joint.
I mean, it felt like, I don't know, it had a little bit of Vader on Boy Meets World vibes with the tips from George. But then him, like, the whole thing just felt backwards. Like, again, you keep expecting Miz to be the heel. I'm okay with Shane being the heel because he's been a piece of shit through this whole thing. But then it's like, but his dad's trying to help him. That's not like a face thing. It's a weird thing. And so Shane's like, why we listen to this old guy? Like, so it almost feels justified. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. I don't know. The whole thing was presented weird. I know they tried to do it because this is his hometown, but
Jokes out, Miz. Shane's making the dad watch. Look at your boy. He's sweating all over.
oh my God, looks like he's about to die. Be like, you know, I'm not gonna break it up. The longer you hold this on, you might actually die. So that we'll be out of here.
They're both turning purple.
And then Becky needing Ronda to get her to Mania, like that to me is a big one. Like she's a red hot megastar. She's super over. And like she needs Ronda to help her beat Charlotte to get there. Like this felt, I know she's hurt, but like too many weeks for this match. You know what I mean?
And it's also another attempt because they're running out of gas with Ronda to like try to shine up Ronda a little bit. And I feel like that again, like it didn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah. They're just in a weird place because like you kind of need all three of them in there for different reasons, but you didn't really need all three of them in there. It's like you need Ronda because of the name to sell. If you want to be in the main event, you need Ronda, right? That's the name value they're trying to sell. And she's been the best all year, so she deserves it. Charlotte's their ace, right? So you kind of can't leave her out if you're going to have a history-making match. You kind of need Charlotte in there. And then you got Becky, who's what probably wasn't the plan, right? I think it was Charlotte Ronda was their plan. And then Becky all of a sudden gets lightning hot out of nowhere. Like you got to have her in there. So with getting there has been a struggle for them to make it seem logical to have all three of them in there, even though it really should have just been we're the best three fucking women and we're going to main event Mania and prove everyone wrong. Like just, you know, it didn't need much more than that.
Yeah. Like I think on Raw they end up doing a cool like 6-woman tag where like the three of them have to team. That would have been a cool spot here on the pay-per-view to do.
Yeah. All right. So +8 for moments, 4.75 for grades. Card structure. We give a point for the ongoing angle with Kofi being disrespected. New Day's advocating for him. Vince is messing with him. A point for Elias. We didn't talk about this. This is great. He keeps coming in all throughout the night to sing about different things happening. He does such a good job trolling all the faces with his songs. And that sets up AJ and Orton coming in and doing their thing at the end of his last song. A point for loading the show with title matches and fresh faces. Again, it felt like a lot of new blood into the roster on this show. A point for Joe winning clean, establishing the Coquina clutch as lethal. A point for Ali getting added to the WWE title match to continue teasing Kofi. And a point for Charlotte and Becky getting a main event type slot despite no title. They've been elevated that far that they're going to semi-main, no belt on the line, but it means that much.
We're going to match around the bum leg, yeah. For our minuses, we got starting with 2 straight tag team breakup angles. Multiple post-match attacks and angles all night long. Starts to get redundant. Adding Ali to the main event sets the crowd into a negative like tailspin as they just really want Kofi. Becky earns a slot into the WrestleMania main event. We've got Lacey Evans parading around for no reason 3 hours into the show. Main event Corbin and then Stooge given stacked roster. Just yeah, you wish they could have done a little bit more to I don't know, find like 3 worthy opponents for the Shield, like a more cohesive unit. But
yeah, there had to be someone better, but I know you probably don't want to job someone out. It's just a weird team. I think Corbin he's so washed. It's like there had to be something better we could have done here. I don't know.
Audacity to parade Lacey Evans. I do like Fancy Hat Lady Lacey Evans, who would probably kick me out of a diner in the 1950s, but I do like that character a bit. But
Yeah, but
parading
3 hours
around
into the
3
show, we're
hours
walking
into a
around doing nothing. It's like,
pay-per-view.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
All right, so +2 for card structure, which is pretty good for this era, honestly. Rewatchability, Elias again, song trolling everyone all night. A point for Mandy taking a nasty kick from Asuka for the finish. A point for Ali's 450 on the ring apron. A point for Orton hitting the RKO on Elias, and then AJ hitting the phenomenal forearm and a quick beat back to back. And then a point for the final Shield triple power bomb and fist bump. It's kind of a cool touch.
For our minuses, too much Miz and Shane. We're almost there. Shane's lame MMA punches on Miz during his attack. Absurd Kevin Dunn supercuts all through the main event. Gets really nauseating when they're trying to do the frantic Shield camera. It's too much.
So +3 for rewatchability, though. And then no all-time matches. Total score, Marcus. Hold on to your hats. 29.75. It's a monster rating, and it's really on the back of the build and the Shield stuff. Like, the Shield really racked up a ton of points, but again, it's super important. The negative being they, shit-can Ambrose's heel turn. It felt forced and rushed, but you know what? No one liked the heel turn anyway, including him. So, whatever, kicking that to the curb and giving us this final reuniting moment. It was feel good at the time because Reigns had just come back from being sick. So it was like, it was good timing for all of it. And it meant a lot on the show. And there wasn't a lot of bad. The stuff that's been bad on these shows didn't drag it down. The commentary, the card structure, the rewatchability stuff, like that on this show didn't drag it. So it ends up being, I think, the best show of the season for us all in. Even it's ahead of Hell in a Cell, which I think was our other close one maybe. But Marcus, buddy, I'm not going to lie to you. This is our 12th best show. No, hang on. 11th best show of all time.
Wow. That's some high praise.
Just above Backlash 01, just above Money in the Bank 11, above Judgment Day 01, above Survivor Series 01, just below Rumble 16, like above Rumble 2000, above Takeover New York, No Mercy 01. Like, this is the company it's in. It's, maybe, I don't know, did we overrate the Shield stuff? Maybe, but it's important to the era.
It's important, and again, everything is super focused on the show. And when you have a show in the content era where you do have 3.5, 4 hours, 4.5 hours of programming that you're watching, if it's super concentrated and heading in the right direction, you're going to end up with a lot more positives than not. And commentary didn't get in the way on the show to drag it down. So a little bit of a high rating, higher than I thought. But again, this is where the content era can kind of gain some ground, because while we may not get as many like backstage promos and stuff like that, and the matches have kind of been capped. Well, if you get 8 matches and you've got a whole bunch of 3, 3.25, 3.5 all sprinkled in, it adds up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is when you look at our top 11 or so. Like, I think this is the most surprising. And I lied. Evolution was our best of the season, obviously. So this is right behind it. But it's, I'm trying to look real quick. Is anything even close? Hell in a Cell is at 34th. So we'll see where Mania finishes. But we're looking at this and Evolution being the top 2. From the season, which I never would have guessed coming in. So, Lotto, let us know what you think in the comments. Are we stupid? Do we overrate this? But I don't go watch it if you haven't seen it. Like, there was no negative. It was just a pretty good show, and things just kept stacking on top of each other. And yeah, I mean, if you take the Shield thing out, it's probably middle of the pack, but that stuff counts. It was a big part of the show. All right, so let's do our top 11 since we're on it. Fastlane 2019 is our 11th best show of all time at 29.75.
Following up, that is number 10, the 2016 edition of the Royal Rumble with a WAR of 32.
Just above that in 9th is WrestleMania 21 with 33.5.
Number 8 is the SummerSlam 2015 with a 35.25.
We have Royal Rumble 05 at 36.5 in 7th.
We have WrestleMania 18 coming in 6th place with a 36.75.
Evolution 2018 with a round number of 38 as our 5th best show of all time.
Our 4th best show is the SummerSlam 1999 with a 38.25.
Tied with that is the SummerSlam 1992, where I carried that cokehead, no good Davey Boy Smith. That is tied at 33.25, but it has the best match between the two, so that's why it has the tiebreaker.
Mr. Hitman. Our 2nd best show.
The British Bulldog's gonna win whether he wants to or not.
Is the SummerSlam 2001 with a WAR of 39.
And our number 1 show of all time to date, Royal Rumble 2002, 44 points. Last place, greatest Royal Rumble 2018, negative 17.25. So that's the spread there. All right. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this. Again, leave the comments, subscribe, love us, like us. You can follow us on our YouTube channel and any podcatcher application. We have stuff that simulcasts like this podcast, but we also have a lot of live, like current day stuff on the YouTube channel only. So check that out, subscribe it, follow us on social media for the latest and greatest as well. Marcus, we'll be back in 2 weeks with WrestleMania 35 and our season end awards. And then we'll be back a month from today with our brand new season that we're super excited about to get into and share with you all. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Continue to live your life above replacement level, and we'll talk to you soon.